Yes, welcome to the No Say Project. I'm your host, Marc Stevens, author of Adventures in Legal Land. It is November 9th, 2013, coming to you live from the Fortified Compound here in Phoenix, Arizona. And it is good to be back here in the Valley of the Sun, where last week I was a guest on this show. Actually, at the time, it was a sunny afternoon in Salt Lake City. But then, of course, it rained and snowed the next day. And then when we finally left on Monday, it snowed pretty bad. But are you with us, JT?
I'm here.
Hey, good to have you.
Thanks. It's always great to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you back. I know we had it was a little different last week, but
Yep.
doing something a little different though this week. We got a couple of new things we got to talk about. I'm actually going, thanks to our mutual friend John in Minnesota. I'm going to be playing some of the video of the show so I'll get that posted after the show today. Of course, Calvin will be doing the tremendous job on the podcast that he does, but this will. A couple segments are actually going to be on video.
Cool.
Is my mic still hot? Is that what you're saying?
A little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, you were getting a kind of a feedback from you. My mic shouldn't be hot, but yeah, I think I'll just step back. But hopefully that's not coming out over the air. I know yours is a little garbled, so hopefully that will even out. But I know it's been a long time in the coming. So those who get to watch this, have here the first proof of government indicted. So let me get that for the camera there. And thanks to John, it's in high def. Marc Stevens, government indicted. It's finally done. I have the proof. This is it. And I'm going to put that right back there because it's easier. But Government Indicted is finally released. I have not been able to update the website and have a page of its own. But if you want to order Government Indicted, you may do so. It is PayPal is probably the easiest way at this point. It's $25 because, well, the book is huge. You have a copy. You have the beta copy. Did we lose JT? Wouldn't be the
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Apparently, we've got a dreadful connection here. But I was just talking about how large the book is, so that's kind of driven up the price of the shipping. So it's $25, which includes the shipping, and that's if it is in the continental United States as part of North America. Overseas or even to Canada, the cost is quite a bit more. So we got to keep that in mind. So if it's an overseas, if you're in Canada, it's actually $30, but I'll get that on the website. But you can order. I don't actually physically have an order of books yet, so I won't be able to fill any orders until next week. But if you want to order, you can go to marcstevens.net, and you may do so. And again, we've got the proof. I'll get that posted later. And I'll be actually on with Pete Santilli again next week, so I will post that also. So probably doing a lot of shows to help promote the new book, which is finally out.
Should be a hot seller.
Yeah, we're going to have to do something about your connection. You're kind of in and out. I know you said you're on a remote. Hopefully that clears up. But we got a lot of stuff going on today.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff to get to. What I want to do, JT, because I am videotaping this, and I want to finally have a video that was going to be done for the damage control, because so many people seem to completely misunderstand or say that I've never mentioned what I mean by damage control. So now we're going to finally have it on video. I'm going to have it posted on the website. So it'll be on the forum, whatnot. Anybody can embed the video, and we can talk about the damage control, because that's what we talk about here on the show. We're going to have a lot. We're going to be taking calls at 218-632-9399. But we talk about damage control, and to be quick, damage, because I've mentioned this, I don't know, what have I mentioned? It's like 8,000 times on the show already, and there's still critics that say, he never explains what he means by damage control. Damage control is limiting the amount of damage the psychopaths want to do to you. That's all it means. It means standing up for yourself and making proper objections, asking questions, not taking a position. And it's getting leverage against them. And I have the call of shame, which is, you get to hear it. I know I didn't get to send it to you because I didn't get to edit it. And I've got just a quick clip that we can play on the show later.
Okay.
But anyway, we're getting leverage on them by asking questions. Every sentence out of their mouth is a lie. They claim they have jurisdiction. There's no evidence. They claim their Constitution and their sacred writ, the law, they say that applies. BS. No evidence whatsoever. So all we're doing is, and this gives us leverage. So and again, we've got Paul in Toronto got another ticket thrown out. So I think that's effective damage control. They were looking to get, let's say, $100 from him. And by standing up for himself and challenging jurisdiction, he was able to get it kicked out. In a lot of instances, we've had things just drop where they want a $2,000 fine and they lower it down to, let's say $100. That's what damage control is. They want to damage you. When they set their sights on you, they want to hurt you. They're not asking you a damn thing. It kind of reminds me of Jules from Pulp Fiction. I don't remember asking you a damn thing. They don't ask you.
That's right.
They tell you, and they want to damage you. That's what they do. They damage us. So we defend ourselves in an effort to limit the amount of damage they're going to do. That's what is meant by damage control. Some people are not able to limit the damage. Sometimes it comes out, they're damaged, because there's retaliation. That doesn't happen too often, but it does happen. It's always a risk because you're dealing with psychopaths.
That's for sure.
So I hope this little rant here, and maybe I have to think about, maybe I'm missing something. And just like with taxes, it's the same thing with taxes. If they want $50,000 from you, and we're able to show that there is no evidence, a lot of times they'll either drop it or they won't try to enforce it. Or maybe in some instances, people have worked with them where they were able to get, let's say, instead of $10,000, they paid $500 or $1,000. So that's damage control. Because, again, they are not asking you anything. They are telling you, and their intent is always to damage you. Okay, so do I have that clear enough now? If there's any questions on this, I'm more than happy to take a call on it. It's 218-632-9399. 218-632-9399. And we're live here on LRN.FM every Saturday from 4 to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it's 1 to 4 Pacific Time, but I'm not actually on Pacific Time anymore. So Arizona doesn't change, JT.
Yeah, you're lucky you.
Well, it does help out quite a bit, though. I don't have nearly as many hours behind the East Coast because I'm working with a lot of people in Toronto and in Maryland and the East Coast. So I don't, once it gets to 2, because as, the closer it gets to 2 o'clock, that's my time, so now I've got till I've got to 3 o'clock's my deadline. But then I get a 1 hour grace period for everyone on the West Coast, which is really cool. So if I'm running a bit behind, so what I can do is just schedule so my West Coast stuff can go after, and my priority be the East Coast stuff. But wow, we had some central. The Call of Shame is actually from Missouri. Have I mentioned the Missouri? Yeah, the Missouri Department of Revenue, and boy, this is a good one. And I timed it, JT. So just minutes before the show, trying to get this webcam and everything, get something to hold the book. So you see how much money is put into the production of the show. But see, the content drives the show. Nobody cares that it's not a multi-million-dollar, kind of thing here. But it's gold. It is. This is one of those where it's got to be on the best of. The only problem is, and I timed. You remember I told you it was one of the long, and I put in the chat yesterday. It was one of the longest pauses I've ever had after asking a question of evidence, and I timed it. It was actually between what I had told you. I said it was between. Let's say 20 and 30 seconds.
Right.
It's 25 seconds.
Wow.
25 seconds. But I don't want to play that now because we're going to be going to a break. But a little heads up about it. The agent initially that I was speaking to who claimed responsibility believed, the typical BS that it's a valid assessment and all that, blah, blah, blah. But when it came down to answering questions regarding the evidence, she just couldn't do it. So even though she was determining that there was a proper assessment and they had jurisdiction and all that, she was good with the opinions. But here's a shock, JT, not so good with the evidence. So she wanted to pass it off to the legal department, and that's who I have on the Call of Shame. Well, we're up against the break. We'll be back here in just a few moments here on LRN.FM. You're listening to the No State Project for November 9, 2013. We'll be back in just a moment. Yes, welcome back to the No State Project. I'm your host, Marc Stevens, author of Adventures in Legal Land, and, of course, The newly released Government Indicted, which is available now at markstevens.net. If you're in the continental United States, it is $25, which includes the shipping. And for Canada, it would be $30. However, when we're talking about England and Australia, it's kind of cost prohibitive at this particular point. So we're going to have to, I mean, if you want it, that's great. You'll have to contact me about the shipping. It's something like 22 USD for Australia. So kind of the shipping is the same cost as the book. But US, we're good to go at 25. But you can go to markstevens.net for that. We will be taking calls today. It's 218-632-9399, 218-632-9399. And JT, what we were talking about before the break was this epic call of shame that I'm going to get posted as soon as I can. But I have one of the best segments for the show today.
Right.
I told you about it yesterday, and it's been very busy, very busy. I've been so busy with this other stuff, I haven't even been able to get the website updated for the book. But we will do that. But this is a historic day because November 9th, 2013, Government Indicted is finally available. There have been some pre-orders, but those were not intentional. Well, with the beta release, there was I had mentioned I only had a handful, and I really meant a handful. But I had gotten a number of orders, and so we just put them in as pre-orders. So I'm speaking, and I don't want to, on the show just yet, I don't want to say who this popular libertarian commentator is that I'm working for. It's we made the call to the Missouri Department of Revenue yesterday, and the agent was insisting. This is what they're see. When you're a lawyer or you're a bureaucrat or a tax agent or some kind of bureaucrat, you're very big on opinions, subjective, arbitrary opinions. Because when you have a gun, you can get people to accept that as real. When you don't use a gun, to get people to, convinced of your opinions, you tend to have rational discourse. You have to have evidence. You have to have proof, or a reality show. And she told me point blank. See, this is one of the benefits here. I have all of my notes from yesterday, and what she had told me was that they do have evidence. So I'm asking about evidence that the Constitution laws apply just because we're physically located in Missouri. She eventually says she lies in desperation, of course. She lies. I know, it's a shock. That's what they do, right? They lie. So when I'm asking her for the specific...
Automatic.
Yeah. When I'm asking her for the specific evidence, though, the specific facts, because to back up this lie, we do have evidence, Mark. She says she does not have the ability to answer. She has to send me to the legal department. But you just said you had evidence.
Okay. Right.
You're saying that there's evidence that you can prove jurisdiction. You have evidence that the woman is a taxpayer. But now you're saying you don't have the ability to answer, and you have to send me to the legal department. Well, which one is it? See, rational people I like to think I'm rational. Rational people like us, we see a problem there, right?
Right.
If you say you have the evidence, and I ask you for that evidence, and then you say you don't have the ability to answer that, well, then you can't say you have evidence. So she transfers me to the legal department. Now, I'm going to get this entire call posted. I have to edit out some personal information, of course, but I will get this entire call posted. Now, JT, I'm thinking to myself, you don't get to hear this right now.
Right.
You're not going to be able to hear this. So just you'll have to wait for my cue, because and everyone listening, there's going to be a 25-second pause. I hate to give it up, but I don't want anything to think there's anything wrong with the feed. This is one of the best call of shames I've done, and I probably, if I had the time, I should have sent this to you before. I could have Skyped it to you, but I'm going to play it now. So just bear with me. I'll let you know when it's done. So let's go to this. This is epic. So, as someone holding an advanced university degree, a doctorate, what evidence do you have to show that your Constitution applies just because of me or Loretta, we're physically in Missouri?
Sir, I apologize, but I'm not going to keep having this conversation with you. I mean, I'm not sure where it's going and if it's relevant to...
Now, there's a 25-second pause there, JT, right? She finally comes back with the lawyer crap. I don't know where this is going. And she doesn't want to continue the conversation. So...
Yeah, that's right.
So... And again, I'll post the whole audio. Actually, the entire audio with the previous agent is probably about 45 minutes. That was just the best part.
Right.
Because, one, to give a little, she has already agreed, JT. She's already agreed that the Constitution and laws apply to everyone just because you're physically located in Missouri. She's already admitted this. So when I ask her, so I got to refer to my notes here. When I ask her for the actual evidence, she talks about the code. So I said to her, so you're saying that the evidence that the code is applicable is the code. She agreed. But you do understand that's not actual evidence. That's a circular argument. That's circular logic. It's a fallacy. It's not evidence. She said, well, I'm sorry you feel that way, but I don't think that that's circular argument. I said, it's not a matter of how I feel. It's an issue of the facts.
Right.
When you say the code is evidence, the code is applicable, that is beginning and ending with the same point. That is circular logic. That's not evidence. That is a logical fallacy.
Right.
I may not hold a doctorate degree, and that's why. So after she's already stated to me that there's evidence, or that her opinion is the Constitution and laws apply just because you're physically located. Now, before I continue, I just want to get into, because we're okay. The reason why I'm doing that is because I don't want to discuss citizenship. I don't want to sit there and talk about residency and what that means and the legal implications. I didn't even want to talk about what the state is or is not. You want to strip through all this crap and just get right to the heart of the matter. They believe that the Constitution and laws apply to me and you just because you're physically in the area.
Right.
That's it. So deal with the simple that simple opinion. Great. So you get that on the record. That's your opinion. We've got it. Now, where's your support? Where is your evidence? So she had already put me down a number of times. And I kind of still have this problem.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I know you didn't get to hear it. So when I set up the question about evidence that the Constitution and laws apply, I stated that as somebody who holds an advanced university degree, a doctorate degree, and then I asked her for the evidence the Constitution applied just because I was physically located in Missouri, and you get a 25-second pause, pregnant pause, and then she goes into the lawyer crap. I don't know where you're going with this. This is where I'm going. You don't have a damn shred of evidence, and it's arbitrary. We're up against a break. We'll be back here on the No State Project in just a moment here on LRN.FM. Yes, welcome back to the No State Project. I'm your host, Marc Stevens, author of Adventures in Legal Land. Glad to be with you back here from the fortified compound in Phoenix, Arizona, where we have released Government Indicted. I think on my shirt here, reification is a hell of a drug. And that was something yesterday, JT, that when I was talking with, what's her name here? Desiree Wilford is the agent that I was speaking with. Desiree Wilford. She is, I think it's very important to keep in mind here. And we were mentioning off air, I think that Luciana Spooner would give us an attaboy for this. What's significant here, JT, is she's not just an average low-level agent. This was the legal department. So when the initial agent, Condra, had said to me, Condra said she did not have the ability to answer, she sent me to the legal department. Now, I know I catch a lot of heat from certain people who have a vested interest in the system, that I am stupid, I'm an idiot, I'm a wacko, and I'm a con man. And yet, despite all the invitations to come on this show and present the evidence that the Constitution and laws apply, just because you're physically in Missouri or the U.S., and yes, my fingers are in quotes, you can actually see evidence of that now, they claim that whether the laws apply or not is not an issue of evidence. So, I don't know. That sends red flags. When someone says the law applies in jurisdiction and is not an issue of evidence, that smacks of being arbitrary. Doesn't that, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not based on evidence, then it's just made up.
Right.
That's kind of the way, things work. And so no one can come on the show, and, I got the number right here. It's 218-632-9399. We do not screen the calls. I could take the trouble and move the webcam, and you could see, I don't have the equipment here. I mean, I appreciate the equipment from you and, and everyone, and John, but I don't screen calls. And I don't believe in screening calls anyway. But no one's been able to come on the show and give the evidence, the empirical proof, that the Constitution applies just because you're physically located here. I mean, it's just sheer madness. Or if you're born in this part of the world, the Constitution applies for the rest of your life. It doesn't make any sense. So here we've got more proof where you've got a tax agent named Condra, and she's insisting that it's not arbitrary, but she can't give the evidence, and I don't have the ability to answer that. That's a direct quote, which you'll hear when I get the quote. If you don't have the ability to answer, what the evidence actually is, then you can't say that it is evidence, and it's proof that it's, what you're saying is arbitrary. It's proof that what you're saying is absolutely arbitrary. Okay, so when I speak to the agent, at least I can call them and I can confront them. It's like the critics. All I can do is put the invitation out, and they just ignore it. If they had evidence, this goes for anybody out there. If you have evidence that the constitutional laws apply, just because I'm physically in Arizona or I'm physically in Missouri or Toronto or Melbourne, come on the show and present your dang evidence. I will even, and I'll say this 100 times a week if I have to, I am willing to go on another live show that if you got help at least get it set up, and I will meet you at the door. I will meet you on the show, and if you have evidence to prove it, let's rock and roll, baby. Let's do it. But just like this Desiree Wilford with the Missouri Department of Revenue, and I know you haven't heard it on the air yet, but everyone listening live to the last segment got to hear her be asked, what evidence do you rely on to prove the Constitution applies to me just because I'm physically in Missouri? And there was a 25-second pause. I don't see where you're going with this. And I had to tell her, where I'm going with it is, I've already told you like 6 times, you don't have any evidence. You are applying your laws to Loretta with no evidence whatsoever they actually apply. Now, you can't claim that the woman was just stupid. I don't think she's stupid. She's ignorant. But, JT, can someone who claims or has an advanced university degree to be an expert on the law and the application of the law, can they really claim ignorance on evidence they say they have to prove the Constitution applies?
I don't think so. Not legitimately. No.
I don't think it has any. If you're going to go on record, and when you call the Department of Revenue, and I'll have this on the call of shame, when you call the Department of Revenue, just like when you call the IRS, it tells you there's a recording that your call is monitored and being recorded for quality control purposes. I'm doing it for the same reason. I'm letting people know there's no quality there. I'm letting people know and educating that if they attack you, you could just call them and ask them for the evidence. And you're going to get the same stupid responses. Where are you going with this? Why don't you answer the damn question first?
Yeah, exactly.
And this is what got me. Even though she has already admitted, JT, that the only evidence they have is the code applies because the code applies, she's trying to get me to accept that, well, Mark, you haven't given us any reason, any law that we have violated that would mean that we have to stop the assessment, the garnishment.
Right.
So now the guy I was working with, he's a good guy. He said something, and I got right, but it was a little off point. I said, you know what? This is what we're going to do, Desiree. I'm going to play your stupid little lawyer game here and show that even playing by your stupid rules, we've got you. Have you ever heard of a phrase called due process? Because that's what you're violating right now if you have no evidence and you're attacking somebody. Okay? There's your violation of law. It's called due process and fundamental fairness. Now, can we move closer to a resolution? Please? But that wasn't enough. I have to now talk to the supervisor, whose name is Mike, but she won't give me his last name. She's gonna play that game with me. So, you go to markstevens.net. I will get the entire call on the call to shame. We'll also have the video where you can watch the first segment. We'll have a couple of videos of today's show on YouTube today. Actually, thanks to John, JT, it's actually HD.
He's a good guy.
He's a good guy. We've got a lot of stuff going on with him. John was on the show a few weeks ago, and we were talking about the insurance company. So we'll talk more about that. He's got some updates about that. I'd want to, before we go to another break, this is really the key issue here. It can't be stressed enough that the entire basis of their attacks against us, all of them, because JT, when it comes to the NSA spying,
right,
what is the justification for what they're doing? That it's all
for your protection.
Well, but it's legal.
Right, it's all illegal. Yes, sorry, it's all legal.
It's all legal. Now, to be legal, the laws have to be what? Constitutional. Right?
Right.
So
Yep.
the foundation of their laws applying, the foundation of their jurisdiction is the Constitution. But there's no evidence whatsoever that the Constitution applies to anyone. And that doesn't matter, even if they have an oath to it.
Right.
I could take an oath right now.
Right.
I hereby swear or affirm that I will preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States to the best of my ability and protect it against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Right.
But you know what? That doesn't mean anything. I can give an oath.
No, it doesn't.
It's not given to anybody.
Right.
And there's no body politic to actually be swearing it to. There are no citizens. There is no government.
Right.
There is no state. And the idea that their Constitution applies is laughable. And I don't know how many of these call to shames I need to post, and I'll just keep posting them, confronting these people directly on this. And I encourage people. What I'd like to see, and you don't have to do this in an area where they can retaliate against you. I mean, this is in Missouri. I do this, I've done it, in Canada, which I got a lot of call to shames that are going to come from Canada this week, JT. Okay, there was, I don't even know how to pronounce the guy's name correctly. What did I told you the other day? What is it? Jivraj. He told me, this is a direct quote, I don't need evidence. Huh?
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh,
Really?
yeah, we have we're
So
at
then the follow-up would be this. Oh, but yes, is this arbitrary then?
no, it's just arbitrary. Well, good. Yeah, well, we have guns. We don't need evidence. We'll be back here on the No Say Project in just a moment here on LRN.FM.